You lived an entire life before the age of 3. You were born. You opened your eyes for the first time. You heard your mother's voice. You felt warmth. You tasted food. You learned how to walk. You spoke your very first word. And yet, you remember none of it. Not a single moment. It's strange when you really think about it. Those weren't small things. They were some of the most important experiences of your life. The beginning of everything. So where did they go? Most people assume the answer is simple. You were too young. Your brain wasn't developed yet. But that's not quite true. Because your baby brain wasn't failing to record your life. It was recording everything. And that's where things start to get strange. In 1905, Sigmund Freud gave this phenomenon a name, infantile amnesia, the inability to remember the earliest years of your life. For a long time, people thought infants simply couldn't form memories. But we now know that's wrong. In the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Roe Collier ran a simple but brilliant experiment. She tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a mobile hanging above their crib. When the baby kicked, the mobile moved. It didn't take long for the babies to figure it out. Kick, and the world responds. They loved it. But here's the important part, when those same babies came back days later, they remembered. They immediately started kicking again. Even 2-month-old infants could retain that memory for days. 6-month-olds could remember for weeks. So babies can learn. They can store information. They can recall it. But those memories don't last. By the time you're an adult, they're gone. Completely erased. So what happened? The first part of the answer lies deep inside your brain, in a small, curved structure called the hippocampus. Think of it as your brain's memory engine. It takes experiences, a birthday, a conversation, a rainy afternoon, and turns them into something you can revisit later. A story you can replay. But in infants, this system isn't fully built yet. The hippocampus exists, but its connections to the rest of the brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, are still under construction. Important regions, like the dentate gyrus, which helps process and store new memories, aren't fully developed until around ages 2 to 4. So early on, your brain can hold short-term memories. But it struggles to convert them into stable, long-term ones. That explains part of the mystery. But not all of it. Because even when those systems start coming online, the memories still disappear. And this is where things take a much stranger turn. In 2014, neuroscientists Sheena Jocelyn and Paul Franklin proposed an idea that sounds almost backwards. What if the very process that builds your brain is also what erases your memories? During the first few years of life, your brain is growing at an incredible rate. Inside your hippocampus, new neurons are being created constantly, a process called neurogenesis. This is essential. It's how your brain wires itself. It's how you learn, adapt, and become who you are. But there's a hidden cost. Every time a new neuron is added to an existing circuit, it slightly disrupts the connections already there. And those connections are what hold memories in place. To test this, researchers ran experiments on mice. When they increased neurogenesis in adult mice, the mice began forgetting things they had already learned. But when they slowed neurogenesis in young mice, those mice held on to their memories much longer than normal. In other words, the more the brain grew, the more it forgot. Your baby brain wasn't too weak to store memories. It was too busy rewriting itself. Your earliest experiences weren't never recorded. They were overwritten. Imagine trying to write a story in a notebook, while someone keeps tearing out pages and replacing them. That was your brain. Constantly building new structures, while dismantling the old ones. But even that isn't the full picture. Because to remember something the way you do now, as a personal story, you need something else. You need a self. Place a small mark on a baby's nose, then show them a mirror. Before about 18 months, the baby doesn't recognize the reflection as themselves. They treat it like another child. But after that age, something changes. They reach for their own nose. They recognize, that's me. And here's the fascinating part, this moment closely lines up with the earliest age most people can form lasting memories. Before that, there was no stable self to attach experiences to. No internal narrator turning moments into a story. So even if something was felt, seen, or experienced, it wasn't stored as your memory. Because there wasn't a fully formed you yet. And then there's one final piece of the puzzle, language. Before you learned to speak, your world was made up of raw sensations. Sounds. Colors. Textures. Emotions. But they were unstructured. Unlabeled. Floating. Language doesn't just help you describe memories, it helps you build them. It gives experiences shape. Once children begin speaking, and especially once they start talking with others about past events, remember when we went to the park? Their ability to form lasting memories improves dramatically. Language acts like a framework. A container. Without it, experiences are like water spilling through your hands. Present for a moment, then gone. Interestingly, research shows that your culture also affects how far back your memory reaches. In cultures where parents frequently talk with children about past experiences, asking questions, telling stories, people tend to remember earlier parts of their lives. In some cases, as early as 2.5 years old. In others, where less emphasis is placed on personal storytelling, first memories may begin closer to age 4. Which means something incredible. The way people around you spoke to you, literally shaped how much of your past you can remember. So what really happened to your earliest years? It wasn't just one thing. It was everything happening at once. Your memory systems weren't fully developed. Your brain was rapidly rewiring itself. Your sense of self hadn't fully formed. And you didn't yet have language to organize your experiences. Each one alone would make memory difficult. Together, they made it nearly impossible. Every person who has ever lived went through this. Every single one. There's a blank space at the beginning of all of our lives. A hidden chapter we can never revisit. And maybe the strangest part is this. The reason you can't remember being a baby is not because your brain was too simple. It's because it was doing something far more important. It was building you. And to do that, it had to let go of who you were before. And if you enjoy exploring strange questions like this, the kind that change how you see your own mind, make sure to subscribe.